Imagine this: China launches a full-scale invasion of Taiwan. Missiles fly, warships surround the island. The world holds its breath, fearing the start of World War III. Scary, right? That's exactly the story you keep hearing in the headlines. But here's the truth the media won't tell you. China will never attack Taiwan in a way that causes mass bloodshed. China doesn't see Taiwan as an enemy. It sees them as family, as fellow Chinese. And you don't destroy your own people with bombs and bloodshed. Yes, reunification under the One China policy is non-negotiable. Nearly every nation, from the UN to the US, already recognizes it. But for China, the path isn't about wiping Taiwan off the map. It's about bringing it back into the fold, calculated, patient, and mostly peaceful. Stick around as we unpack the history, the strategy, and the evidence proving why a brutal war just isn't in the cards. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. After World War II ended in 1945, Japan finally surrendered. Its empire collapsed, ending years of brutal occupation across East Asia, including large parts of China, Taiwan, and Manchuria in the northeast. But instead of peace, China fell back into chaos. Two rival forces that had once fought together against Japan now turned their weapons on each other. On one side was the nationalist Kuomintang, KMT, led by Chiang Kai-shek, the ruling government that wanted to build a capitalist republic. On the other was the Communist Party of China, CPC, led by Mao Zedong, pushing for a communist revolution. During the war, both sides had paused their conflict to unite against Japan. But once Japan withdrew, they raced to seize the territories Japan left behind, especially Manchuria, rich in factories, steel, and railways. The United States tried to broker peace between the two, but distrust ran too deep. The KMT wanted to preserve its republic, while the CPC demanded communist reform. The negotiations collapsed. By 1946, China once again erupted into full-scale civil war, the nationalists versus the communists, fighting to decide who would rule all of China. Widespread KMT corruption, skyrocketing inflation, and neglect of rural peasants alienated the masses. Mao capitalized on this with land redistribution, guerrilla tactics, and promises of equality, building massive support among farmers and workers. Amid the fighting, the KMT tried to legitimize itself with elections in 1947 to 1948. They convened a National Assembly, largely controlled by KMT loyalists, and elected Chiang as president. But it was more show than substance, boycotted by the CPC and marred by rigging claims, all while battlefield losses mounted. By 1949, Mao's forces overwhelmed the KMT in decisive battles, and the People's Republic of China, PRC, was established in Beijing on October 1, 1949. Chiang and about 2 million followers fled to a nearby island, what we call Taiwan today, establishing the Republic of China there as a government in exile. The CPC proclaimed the People's Republic of China on the mainland, claiming the whole nation. Both governments initially claimed to represent the entirety of China, leading to a de facto division but a shared assertion that there was only one China, with each viewing the other as illegitimate. This mutual claim created the foundational tension for what would become known as the One China concept. As international recognition was split during the Cold War, Western nations largely supported the ROC, Republic of China, while the Eastern Bloc backed the PRC, People's Republic of China. However, by January 1950, President Harry S. Truman signaled a hands-on approach, stating the U.S. would not intervene if the PRC sought to take Taiwan, reflecting early U.S. neutrality on the issue. The PRC, meanwhile, viewed Taiwan as an inalienable part of its territory, an internal matter stemming from the unresolved Civil War. But 4 years later, the U.S. recommitted to defending Taiwan with the Sino-American Mutual Defense Treaty 1954, primarily due to the escalating tensions of the Cold War, specifically the outbreak of the Korean War and the First Taiwan Strait crisis. President Truman's earlier hands-on statement was quickly reversed by these events, which heightened American fears of communist expansion in Asia. From the PRC's viewpoint, the One China principle asserts that there is only one sovereign China, with Taiwan as an inseparable part, and the PRC as its sole legitimate government. This principle emerged directly from the 1949 founding of the PRC and was formalized in diplomatic efforts to isolate the ROC internationally. In the 1950s, the Chinese government began proposing peaceful reunification with Taiwan, offering to negotiate under the premise of one China while allowing Taiwan to retain some autonomy. The concept evolved significantly under Deng Xiaoping in the late 1970s and early 1980s, who formalized one country, two systems as a framework for reunification. This policy originated from proposals in the 1950s, but was explicitly articulated in 1979, when Deng stated that Taiwan could return to the mainland while preserving its economic and social systems. A key milestone was the 9-point proposal by Ye Jianying in September 1981, which outlined peaceful reunification allowing Taiwan to maintain its government, military, and capitalist system under the PRC's sovereignty. This approach was later applied to Hong Kong and Macau but remains rejected by most in Taiwan, where polls show overwhelming opposition to the model, especially after Beijing's crackdown on Hong Kong's autonomy. The PRC claims this principle is an international norm accepted by over 180 countries, though many nations adhere to variations that differ from Beijing's strict interpretation. In the end, the reason China won't attack Taiwan isn't fear of the West, sanctions, or global backlash. It's because China doesn't see Taiwan as an opponent, it sees Taiwan as its own people. From Beijing's perspective, Taiwan isn't a foreign country. It's a separated province, a missing piece of the family, a chapter of history that drifted away, not a threat that must be destroyed. Yes, China flexes its military. Yes, it sends jets and ships across the strait. Yes, it talks tough in speeches. But when it comes to pulling the trigger on a full-scale war, that's the line China doesn't want to cross because it means harming the very people it claims to protect. To Beijing, reunification isn't supposed to be conquest. It's supposed to be healing. And you don't heal by bombing cities you call your own, or by turning a place you value into rubble. China wants Taiwan whole, stable and prosperous. A Taiwan that can return under one flag, not one burned to the ground by war. So despite all the tension, all the drills, all the politics, the real truth is simple. China won't attack Taiwan not because it fears the world, but because it still believes Taiwan is part of its world. And you don't destroy what you hope one day will come home.